right, we did it. Hey everyone, good morning. We're glad that you have joined us. We are doing our Let's Talk segment where we take each sermon from the week before and we talk about it, maybe things that Jeff didn't get to include in the message, being cut to time, or he just, we think about things afterwards and we discuss it. And we welcome any questions or comments you may have. We really like to see who's here, who's watching, hear any comments. It makes it fun for us too to see that we have a monitor here where we can see all those comments too. So we're glad you've joined us. I can see here, it says there's more people, but I only see Connie is here. Hey Connie.
Hey Connie.
Thank you for joining us from downstairs. Is she here?
I don't think she's here.
Okay, from home. So,
yeah.
All right, so what do you got?
Well, the sermon Sunday, we're continuing this series about momentum, and it's basically this notion of getting the church to all move in the same direction. And one of the things that has to happen for that is for you to build relationships. I heard an interesting thing just today from one of our small groups and one of their conversations that they felt like Mount Pleasant was really pushing them to be more relational. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy about that. I think that really is what moves us along, is when we're connected to other people who are a little further in the faith, and that we're allowing ourselves to be connected to other people who might be coming up too, and you're part of a chain. And I like that metaphor. It's very easy for me to understand. And so we've talked about that and the importance of building that relationship. In the last 2 weeks, we've talked a lot about different angles of that, different reasons why that's important. And a lot of what we talked about last week, this last Sunday, was about getting accountable and I guess being visible.
Mm-hmm.
One of the risks of modern American church is it's easy to be invisible. And as long as your family looks pretty normal and everybody cleans up nice and you're not in the paper for any bad reasons, that really is most of what you have to do to get along in a church. And we're pushing for something a little deeper than that.
Right. This Sunday, I led us into communion, and the meditation that I shared had to do with how sometimes we just give our Sunday best and we put up our best face, best clothes, best everything for Sunday morning, but then maybe the rest of the week doesn't look that way. And God expects us to be real and authentic all week and to try to seek Him every day, not just on Sunday morning. So today, the lesson is getting accountable, having other people to help you be authentic every day, not just for a couple hours on Sunday morning, but every day of your life. So
it starts with you, again, just making yourself a little more visible. It may be volunteering to be part of a group of some sort, a ministry team or a small group or any sort of a Bible study that we do. It can be that, or it could be something a little more even more individual than that, where you get together with one or two people that you're all trying to do the same things, you're all trying to go to the same places. And what Gabe and I were going to talk about today is how some of that's had value in our lives. And I'll start. One of the in Tennessee, I had a couple of guys that I partnered up with pretty regular at different times to try to focus on the right things, to put my heart in the right place. There was Tom and Brent and Lee. At different times I would meet with those guys, and we were able to talk about faith and where we were at in our church, in our marriage, and those guys and those relationships still now are precious to me, and I'm able to make contact. There was an elder there, Richard Carpenter and Bob Bell, and we would sometimes have lunch together, and they would talk through different issues with me, and it's precious. And there's more guys. It's nerve-wracking a little bit to mention names, because I'm sure there's other guys that I've kind of forgotten or I forgot to mention right now. They have not forgotten them. They were precious to me. And the same thing in California. There's a thought with ministry sometimes, and it gets talked about amongst ministers, that preachers or youth ministers or people who work at a church should not make friends, personal friends with people in that church. And the notion is, if you do that, you'll play favorites, or if you do that, you won't be able to tell them the truth about important things. That's the theory. And I've always rejected that theory out of hand. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's what Jesus did. And I think it violates the spirit and the letter of a lot of things in Scripture. I mean, kind of famously, the as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And for somebody in Christian leadership to pull themselves out of a relationship like that seemed arrogant.
Right. I think it is a little more biblical actually to have people that are closer to you. Like you made the quick comment about maybe picking favorites, but I think that's fair. I mean, Jesus had his 12 and he had his 3, Peter, John, and James, that he brought in for more things. And I don't think it would be totally unfair that you and I both had people, and we do have people in this church that we listen to, that if they have an opinion, but they're not staff, but we trust them, we value their opinion, so we maybe yield or rethink something. I think that's fair. And the thought that because the book we're reading a book called Spiritual Leadership. There's a chapter, I don't think we've gone there yet, on loneliness. How it said that the Christian leader is going to be lonely. There are some things you just can't share with others, and it's a burden you carry on your own. And well, that doesn't really encourage me to be in ministry if I'm supposed to carry things on my own and not tell people about it. And I think I know it's healthy to have a lot of people that you can go and talk to about things, and being in leadership in a church or not. We all have to.
Well, talking about loneliness, just and again, this is kind of a wide-ranging conversation. It's not so much that we have an agenda today as more as just to give you kind of insight around this thing that we found. I do think as a leader, and not just in church, I mean a leader period, there certainly is going to be moments of loneliness. There's loneliness for the parent who's trying to do the right thing. There's certainly loneliness if you're the boss at work. I mean, there's no getting away from that. Sometimes you have to, as the leader, make an unpopular decision, and you're going to feel isolated in those moments. However, like you're saying, that should be the exception. I don't think as Christians we should choose loneliness as some sort of badge of honor. I don't think Paul does that. When you read through, especially 2 Corinthians, I mean, that whole book drips with loneliness. And yet over and over and over again, he's asking for people to come visit him. He's pleading with the Corinthians to rebuild that relationship. You see that same kind of tone in 1st and 2nd Timothy, where he's talking to his friend Timothy and the connection that they have and how precious that is to him. And you see it with Jesus, like you said. Jesus, on his worst moment in the Garden of Gethsemane, he takes 3 guys to go pray with him. And they kind of let him down in that story. But the notion of being alone was unthinkable to Jesus. And I don't think that we want to choose that. It's going to happen, no getting around that. But I don't think you want to choose it. And again, I think it's a mischaracterization of what we're supposed to be as Christians, and at some level, again, arrogant for you to think that you don't need anybody. One thing that I've heard through the years, whenever we'll do a book study, not a Bible book, but like somebody's written a book about the Bible or written a book about Christian life, and we'll use a small group study on that book. It's not uncommon to have somebody in the church say, well, I don't want to read somebody's opinion about the Bible. I just want to read the Bible. But even when it's just you reading the Bible, what you're going to put in your head is your opinion about the Bible. I mean, it's always going to be somebody's opinion about the Bible.
Right.
I mean, unless God personally appears to you and gives you it straight from his mouth. And so to have more than one set of eyes on that same stuff, and honestly, more than one set of eyes on your life, to me just seems smart. And I think it's kind of arrogant to think that you don't need it at all.
I think So what we would say, and I wrestle with this too a lot, being a younger guy, and I want to prove that I'm capable to do certain things. It's just what young people do. By allowing someone else to speak into your life, you're saying, I admit I'm not perfect. And I think deep down we're all going to say, I know I'm not perfect. But sometimes our actions seem as if we're saying, I don't mess up. I don't need help. I don't need someone to correct me, to look into what I'm doing. But we definitely do. If we're honest, we all need someone to keep us in line, to tell us when we're wrong. I started meeting a couple years ago with someone on Friday mornings, and it just started us just getting coffee. And we ended up meeting every Friday. And for years, we're meeting every Friday. We're reading books together. We're talking about God. We're encouraging one another. And that accountability was good for me because I needed someone I could just say things, let off things that are pressuring me, frustrating me. And even that for that reason, we all need someone to hear us out. I was talking to Blaine Mackey too, and we had a conversation to where he was saying, men act like we don't need love, like we don't need to talk to someone about our feelings, but we definitely do.
Right.
We act as no, nothing bothers me. Life's great, everything's great. You talked about it this Sunday, how sometimes people ask how you're doing, and we always say fine, just because we don't really want to get into it. But we all need, sooner or later, we're gonna break down. We're gonna be really frustrated. The lid's gonna blow open, and we're gonna just let it all out. And it shouldn't get to that point. We need to be able to let things work through things with people. And I can't encourage it enough. I think my life has been much better the moment I started opening up to people.
There's a couple of things you said there that I want to at least react to. One of them is, and we'll get to that in a minute, what kind of person should you pick for that? Because you picked somebody, but it wasn't like you just took the church directory out and grabbed somebody. I mean, you were looking for a specific thing. And I want to talk about that because there's certain people you want to look for when you're deciding who to go with. But you also said something else. As a younger person, you feel like you're having to prove yourself sometimes to people who are older that you really know what you're talking about. And I'm suddenly in the second half of my life for sure. And I find the older I get, sometimes I feel like I have to prove myself to younger people that I've still got it. And the hard part about that is that notion that you can't let people see who you are, that you're always having to prove that you're more really than you are, that never goes away. I mean, the young man turns into an old man, and there's a very short window where you that's all right. I don't remember when that window was for me. It must have passed by before I realized it happened. But that you're always trying to prove yourself. If you're successful in business or church, there's always someone more successful. There's always somebody further out, or there's some circle in the church that's a little more exclusive that you're trying to get into, a circle in your job that if I could be part of that group, then I'd be going someplace. And part of this accountability is laying that aside, this notion that you've got to prove yourself all the time. It's accepting that you're a sinner like the rest of us. And I think that does hold people back, young people and old people, from really committing here. We're afraid if somebody sees the real us, that would be awful. And I guess it can be painful if you've really cultivated something there, but I don't think it is awful. I think it's good to be known.
So on the thing you said on who do you pick, I kind of stumbled onto what I just said. You guys may know him, Joseph Clampett. We were in a small group for about a year, and one day I was like, hey, we keep talking about being intentional in our small group and this and that, but it's been a whole year. We haven't done anything together, and maybe we should go get coffee. And honestly, and I've shared this with Joseph, I thought it would be a thing we just do once, just an interaction. We kind of had to. We felt like we had to, right? We met up for coffee. It's not that I thought it was going to go poorly. I just thought we're just going to meet up for coffee. But we ended up meeting for hours and just talking, and we never stopped meeting. And we've read through books, and we talk, and all that stuff. And I think of why Joseph. Joseph and I are very different people. And I hope he doesn't mind I'm putting him on the spot, but Joseph's a doctor in physics, has a doctorate in physics. Really smart with numbers. He, very much. You say I'm quiet, but he is more quiet. And I'm a youth minister, and on paper those things didn't really add up, but why did it work? I think he's a great listener, and the type of person I am, I need a friend that can listen and not interrupting me and not like telling me what to do. And if I share a problem, well, here's where you're wrong, Gabe. Let me tell you, it's like I needed someone, but maybe there's people that want someone like that. Maybe you're a type of person that, no, I want someone that's going to shut me up and be like, hey, you're screwing up. You need to stop doing this right now. I'm not the type of person. If I met someone that was like that, I'd probably just stop meeting with that person. Not because I can't take correction, but because I mostly probably just want someone to listen, hear me out. And as I process it verbally, I might come to an understanding of what's going on. And I think I found that in him. And I really hope he found the same in me, that we're able to work through things together.
But again, it wasn't like you called a guy and say, hey, I'm interviewing people to be an accountability partner. In fact, you didn't think that was necessarily even something was going to happen. And it may be somebody that you already get together to golf with or regularly get together and have breakfast with or that you take walks in the afternoon with. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If it's somebody that you already have a partnership with, all we're encouraging is for you to start shifting that conversation into a little bit deeper spiritual water.
Right.
Be willing to talk about how you're doing. I mean, really doing, and with your spiritual life, and not just talk about the kids or the house or your job or sports or whatever else. I mean, you just a little. You still talk about sports, but just take it a little deeper level and just see what goes on. The kind of person you're looking for is someone who will be confidential with you. What you guys talk about pretty much just stays with you. You're looking for somebody who'll be honest. I mean, you don't need a flatterer. I mean, now what Gabe's saying, if they're just on you all the time, I don't think I would look for that either. But
some people might.
Yeah, but it's got to be somebody who will tell you the truth. I mean, you don't want somebody who looks up to you so much or is so intimidated by you that they won't tell you what's going on. You want somebody who's sort of a high character person.
Right.
You know, that they believe a lot of the same things that you're aspiring to believe, and that they're going a certain direction. You want somebody who kind of has those same dreams and goals and ideals. And
something that, to put him on the spot again, something that I really respected about Joseph is that he did tell me, I meet with you and I respect you not because you work at a church. I don't care that you work at a church. It's because I've gotten to know you and I respect who you are. I don't respect like the title, and not that he is, against every minister just because. But it's true though. I mean, not just because you're a minister does it mean everything you say is 100% true, right?
Well, that's a good place for us to end. I mean, again, one of the things that keeps you from building those kinds of relationships is this fear that somebody's going to see you as you are, and they won't respect you and they won't like you as much. And while that is certainly a possibility, I mean, I don't want to pretend like that couldn't happen. It could. When you find a relationship where they do see the real person and they know you're being honest and they know you're after the same things they're after, almost always it makes them respect you more. Yeah. I mean, by taking those shields down, it actually takes you to a better place in the relationship, and not so coincidentally, takes you to a better place in your walk with God. Mm-hmm. As you're becoming more honest, taking those shields down, just being honest that you're a sinner and need of grace like everybody else, it does something to your heart, and it takes you closer to God, and it's valuable. And so if you're out there and you heard the sermon Sunday or heard anything we're talking about, we just want to encourage you to consider giving that a shot. And like I said, it's just as easy as asking somebody to go get coffee or a Coke, or hey, let's go walk. It's a nice day. Let's go walk, or do a hobby together, golf together. It can start pretty casual, but then push the conversation into a little deeper water.
To wrap it up, there's this quote by this hip hop artist called Andy Mineo. He says he had this podcast where he said that on us being vulnerable, we think that when we're vulnerable to people and we show them who we are, that we're going to push them away. But actually what happens is they hear and they say, me too. I'm going through that same thing as well. And it actually brings them closer. So the enemy's making us think that by us opening up, we're actually pushing away when we show them the ugly inside. But it's actually the ugly inside that makes other people identify with us, because we're all messed up people, and that's actually the ones that pretend to be perfect and have it all together that tend to push people away, because, well, why would I go talk to Mr. Perfect over there? He's just going to tell me I'm wrong. And I strive to not be the person, to be as real and authentic. That word has been bouncing around in my brain a lot, authentic, and it has for you as well. It's we're trying to be authentic people. So we're going to wrap it up here today. We're glad that you've joined us for this. It's always a good time. I see here who was all watching. Jason Taro and Barb and Cohen McFarland. Johnny, what's up, Johnny? My friend Johnny he's in Arizona now. Connie was here. So there are people here checking in. We're glad that you guys have tuned in. And we do these every Thursday now. We have our Sunday sermons, our Sunday services going on online and in the building, and our home group series Wednesday nights. We do a study live, same setup here. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week.